Rainbow Six Extraction was met with less than warm response when it was released back in January. From reused assets, continued delays, and a high price tag, longtime Rainbow Six fans were furious with Ubisoft. And that's not the reaction you want from a Tom Clancy game. So what happened? Keep watching as we break down why Rainbow Six Extraction is such a failed release. First up, Extraction was simply a limited time event. The Outbreak event in 2018 was pretty special for Rainbow Six fans. Over the course of 4 weeks, between March 6th and April 3rd, players got to enjoy combating aliens in New Mexico after Boyd Brooks spots a meteorite falling to Earth. The meteorite contains an infection that turns humans into blood-hungry monsters. It was Ubisoft's answer to the question, what if Rainbow Six also had aliens? It was similar to Call of Duty's Zombies mode, but used Siege's game mechanics and also featured unique cosmetics that would only be available for the duration of that event. We think that's great. It's a treat for longtime fans of the series and a fun little event for them, but Ubisoft being Ubisoft saw a money-making opportunity in the Outbreak event. What could have been a one-time, fun event for Siege players to enjoy became a spin-off that no one asked for. The Rainbow Six games have traditionally been tactical shooters that dealt with political events and told a deep single-player campaign. Well, that was gone in Extraction, since it offers only multiplayer mode. Fans would have loved a single-player campaign with its own storyline since Ubisoft decided on making Extraction a standalone experience in the overall Rainbow Six franchise. Remember, Siege had an event called Outbreak that was limited time only, not the other way around. It should have been something like a Halloween or Christmas special that you enjoy once and recall fond memories of later. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? Why fans love Rainbow Six Siege? We could go on and on and on about why fans are still playing Siege 7 years after its release. Ubisoft Montreal decided to reboot Rainbow Six franchise after the not-so-great development cycle of Patriots. The game was cancelled after spending years in development hell. So to put fresh blood in the series, Ubisoft decided to reboot it. And then we were blessed with Siege, one of the best multiplayer games in the last decade. The developers opted for a game-as-a-service model for Siege. After launching it in 2015, players got regular updates and free downloadable content to enhance their experience and offer more replay value. And of course, how could we forget Six? Angela Bassett was a mesmerizing presence as Aurelia Arnott, codename Six, and fans loved watching her play the former director of Team Rainbow. Next, Ubisoft's team did their research with Siege. Remember the political aspect we mentioned at the start? Ubisoft wasn't playing around when developing Siege. It assembled a 150-person team that consisted of industry veterans and longtime Rainbow Six players. Kinda like Marvel brings together its heroes, you know? It was their job to make Siege feel authentic. And they went above and beyond to make sure players had an immersive experience of the political atmosphere in Siege. They studied historical examples of counter-terrorist operations, such as the Iranian embassy siege in London in the 1980s, the Lufthansa Flight 181 hijacking in 1977, Moscow's theater hostage crisis in 2002, and more. They wanted to make sure players get an accurate portrayal of the operations of counter-terrorism units, and they even consulted real CT units such as the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group, or GIGIN, on how they'd react in a hostage situation. And for Extraction, yeah, there was none of that. Extraction is just too generic. We remember an article from The Escapist by Yahtzee Croshaw that said, bad games are better than bland ones, and that's really relevant to what we're about to go into next. Listen, bad games anger us, frustrate us, and often make us rage quit, but at least they make us feel something, you know? If a game can't even provoke anger from us, that spells trouble. Now, we don't hate the game. It is a complete game. It's got characters, it's got weapons, it's got progression trees, it's even got destructible levels thanks to its game engine, but it doesn't make us want to play it over and over again the same way Siege did. Extraction felt like it was phoned in by Ubisoft, and they were simply trying to recoup their development costs? All of what we've described so far already exists in Siege. So why go through the motions of creating a spin-off that offers players nothing new or innovative? We're not expecting a jump between Half-Life 1 and 2, but we did expect more ingenuity. Next, reused assets, not enough ideas, and a high price tag. The assets in this game were reused from Siege as well as the Outbreak event, and that's okay. Developing games is a tough job, and it's only getting more and more expensive. So if you've already got most of your assets and don't have to create them from the ground up, what's your next objective? To create a fun experience. And it's okay. It can be fun if you're playing it for the first time and getting used to the new Rainbow Six formula that you're not used to, but once you go through the motions and complete your objectives, you realize that the game did not innovate on top of what it already had. There weren't any new ideas thrown in to make it an engaging experience, except maybe the MIA operators mechanic, which introduced a risk versus reward scenario for players, but that isn't nearly enough for its asking price. If you didn't have Game Pass, Extraction cost you $60. Several YouTubers, players, and game critics who got the game said that the content just didn't justify its $60 price tag. If it had offered them more modes, new operators, and maybe unique mechanics, then they would have gladly forked over the money. And then there's the issue of its release timeline. Delays, delays, delays. Extraction was originally announced at E3 in 2019, with the release date set for 2020. At that time, Ubisoft called it Rainbow Six Quarantine, and that felt appropriate at the time. But considering that, the entire world just turned upside down in 2020 due to the pandemic, and a large number of the population had to quarantine in their homes, Ubisoft thought that maybe Quarantine was probably not a great title for the next Rainbow Six game. Kinda sends a wrong message if you ask us. But 4 months later, the developer announced that the game was delayed along with Watch Dogs Legion, particularly because Ghost Recon and The Division didn't sell as many units as Ubisoft was hoping. Yves Guillemot, CEO of Ubisoft, said in his statement that all of their games would be delayed to put in more time and effort into making them better titles for players to enjoy. There were other technical difficulties too, so that put Extraction's new release date in June 2021. But then it was delayed again to January 2022. When longtime Rainbow Six fans finally got their hands on it, now games have taken years to develop in the past. Grand Theft Auto 4 took 8 years to develop, and Team Fortress 2 took 9 years. But look at the results. Both of them took the gaming industry by storm and are now considered some of the greatest video games ever made. Extraction, on the other hand, can't flex so much. The developer already had assets from Siege and didn't have to create character models from scratch. Even the operators were taken from Siege to entice longtime players to play Extraction. So they reused assets and character models, created 1 or 2 new mechanics, added in a couple of levels and slapped an Extraction title on it, then charged $60 for it. And that's on top of the 2-year delay. Yeah, most players didn't like that move. And it's a grind with no payoff. So you've been playing Extraction for 40 hours, and you attract the attention of a horde of Archeans. Instead of feeling excitement and chaos, you get pushed into a muddy mess. Enemy animations stutter a lot, making headshots difficult, and sometimes your server disconnects for absolutely no reason. But let's keep playing. It's been 50 hours, and you load into incursions. You do your 3 study challenges, complete your 3 randomized objectives, and get extracted. Your XP counter ticks up, and you get a new piece of equipment. Then the grind starts all over again and again. The progression is linear in this game, and rewards get handed to you in a set order, so you don't really feel significantly stronger as you play. Basically, it's generic, like we said before. The grinding in this game feels more or less like a clicker game. It has solid mechanics, sure, and the shooting is nice because of reused assets and mechanics from Siege, not of its own. It tries to build up to something in the end game, but nothing happens. The gameplay loops in on itself and you continue grinding. If you have a group of friends who love Rainbow Six as much as you do and you want to play something before the next game drops, Extraction can be okay. But there are better titles out there for us that deserve more than $60, like Elden Ring, for example. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching. What did you think of Extraction? And did you think our criticism was fair? How was your experience of it? Tell us in the comments. As always, hit like if you liked our video and subscribe so you don't miss out on future uploads. Till next time.